The Galactic Incursion. The night sky above New Tokyo blazed with an otherworldly light as the first wave of alien ships breached Earth's atmosphere. Captain Akira Tanaka stood on the observation deck of the International Space Station, her eyes wide with a mixture of awe and terror. The sleek, crystalline vessels moved with an eerie grace, their hulls refracting the glow of re-entry into a kaleidoscope of colors. "This is it," Akira whispered to herself, her hand instinctively reaching for the emergency beacon at her belt. First contact. But as the words left her lips, the beauty of the moment shattered. Beams of searing energy lanced from the alien ships, carving fiery swaths through the sprawling metropolis below. Skyscrapers crumbled like sandcastles, their glittering facades reduced to molten slag in seconds. Akira's training kicked in, overriding her shock. She slammed her palm against the station-wide comm panel. "This is Captain Tanaka. We are under attack. Repeat, Earth is under attack. Initiate Protocol Omega. This is not a drill." As alarms blared throughout the station, Akira's mind raced. Humanity had long debated the existence of alien life, but no one had truly prepared for this scenario, an unprovoked assault of such devastating scale. On the ground, chaos reigned. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, lead researcher at the Pan American Institute for Xenobiology, fought her way through panicked crowds in the streets of Rio de Janeiro. The city's famous Christ, the Redeemer statue, stood silhouetted against a sky filled with alien craft, its outstretched arms now a cruel mockery of salvation. Elena clutched a data drive to her chest, its contents potentially holding the key to understanding the invaders. Years of studying potential alien biology had led her team to develop theoretical countermeasures. Now that theoretical work had become humanity's only hope. As she navigated the chaos, a deafening boom shook the ground. Elena turned to see the iconic statue crumble, its fragments raining down on the city below. The sight steeled her resolve. She had to reach the underground bunker where her team was gathering. Humanity would not fall without a fight. Half a world away, in the war room beneath the Pentagon, General Marcus Chen stared at screens displaying the unfolding global catastrophe. Red dots representing alien strikes multiplied across every continent, every major city. "Status report," he barked, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. A young lieutenant, her face ashen, responded. "Sir, we've lost contact with 70% of our military installations worldwide. Conventional weapons are having minimal effect on the alien craft. Nuclear deterrent systems are offline." Chen's jaw clenched. The aliens had clearly done their homework, targeting Earth's defenses with surgical precision. But humanity had faced extinction-level threats before, from ice ages to pandemics, and had always found a way to survive. "Get me a secure line to every remaining world leader," Chen ordered. "It's time to activate the Lazarus Protocol." The Lazarus Protocol was a closely guarded secret, a last resort plan developed by a coalition of nations in the event of a global catastrophe. It involved a network of hidden bunkers, advanced technology vaults, and a cadre of the world's brightest minds, all dedicated to ensuring humanity's survival and eventual resurgence. As Chen coordinated the global response, a different kind of battle was unfolding in the digital realm. In a nondescript server farm outside of Helsinki, Finland, a young hacker known only as Ghost furiously typed line after line of code. Ghost had stumbled upon the alien transmissions weeks before the invasion, but his warnings had fallen on deaf ears. Now, as humanity faced extinction, he worked to decipher the invaders' communication protocols, searching for any weakness that could be exploited. Lines of alien code scrolled across his screens, a dizzying array of symbols and patterns that defied conventional logic. But Ghost was no conventional thinker. Where others saw chaos, he recognized underlying structures, hints of a language that could be cracked. A small smile played across his lips as a pattern emerged. "Got you," he murmured, initiating a subroutine that began to infiltrate the alien network. In orbit, Captain Akira Tanaka, and her crew worked feverishly to transform the International Space Station into humanity's eyes and ears. With most ground-based communications knocked out, the ISS had become a crucial link in coordinating Earth's scattered defenses. Icarus' zero-gravity ballet was interrupted by an urgent call from Mission Control, or what remained of it. "Captain, we're picking up a transmission from inside the alien fleet." Icarus' heart raced as she patched in the signal. A familiar voice crackled through the static. "This is Dr. Yuki Tanaka of the Jupiter Research Station. We've made contact with a rebel faction within the alien armada. Not all of them support this invasion. We may have allies." Icarus' eyes widened at the sound of her sister's voice. The Jupiter station had been out of contact for months, presumed lost. Now it seemed they might hold the key to humanity's salvation. As the first day of the invasion drew to a close, the situation looked grim. Major cities lay in ruins, millions were dead or missing, and Earth's military forces were in disarray. But across the globe, pockets of resistance were forming. In hidden bunkers, secret labs, and improvised command centers, humanity prepared to fight back. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, having reached her team's secure facility, began synthesizing a biological agent designed to target the alien physiology. General Chen coordinated a global guerrilla campaign, using the Lazarus Protocol's resources to arm and organize survivors. Ghost continued his digital assault, probing the alien networks for exploitable weaknesses. And in the depths of space, aboard the Jupiter Research Station, Dr. Yuki Tanaka worked with alien defectors to understand the true nature of the invasion and how it might be stopped. As the alien ships continued their relentless bombardment, a new emotion began to take hold among the survivors. Beyond the fear, beyond the shock, a smoldering anger ignited. This was their home, their planet, and they would not give it up without a fight. The galactic incursion had begun, but humanity's story was far from over. In labs and bunkers, in the silent depths of space and the digital realm, the seeds of resistance were taking root. The aliens had made a grave miscalculation. They had assumed that humanity would break under the onslaught. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. Earth's defiant stand. The dawn of the second day broke over a changed Earth. Smoke from burning cities blotted out the sun in many regions, casting an apocalyptic pall over the devastated landscape. But in the shadows of this new world, humanity was far from defeated. In the subterranean depths of the Pan American Institute for Xenobiology, Dr. Elena Rodriguez peered into a microscope, her bloodshot eyes focused on the alien cellular structure displayed on the screen before her. Months of theoretical work were finally bearing fruit. "I think we've got it," she announced to her team, her voice hoarse from hours of nonstop work. "The aliens' biology is silicon-based, but with a twist. They've engineered themselves to adapt to carbon-based environments. It's brilliant, but it's also their weakness." Elena's discovery was a game-changer. By targeting the unique bridge between silicon and carbon-based biology, they could potentially create a pathogen that would be devastating to the invaders, but harmless to Earth life. As Elena's team raced to develop their biological countermeasure, other fronts in humanity's resistance were opening up. In the war room beneath the Pentagon, now relocated to a mobile command center, General Marcus Chen received an unexpected transmission. The grizzled face of Admiral Zhao of the Chinese People's Liberation Army Navy appeared on the screen. "General Chen," Zhou said, his voice grave, "I'm contacting you from our secret underwater base in the South China Sea. We've been developing experimental submarine technology. I believe it's time we put it to use." Chen nodded, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. "What do you have in mind, Admiral?" Zhao allowed himself a small smile. "Our subs can dive deeper and stay submerged longer than anything the world has seen. We've also developed a form of sonic weaponry that might be effective against the alien ships, if we can lure them over the ocean." The plan was audacious, but at this point, audacity was all humanity had left. Chen quickly patched in other military leaders from around the world, coordinating a global naval strategy that would draw the alien fleet into a trap. Meanwhile, in the digital realm, Ghost was making his own breakthroughs. The young hacker had successfully infiltrated the alien communication network, and what he found both terrified and exhilarated him. "They're not a unified force," he muttered to himself, fingers flying across his keyboard. "There are factions, disagreements. Some of them don't want to be here at all." Ghost began feeding this intelligence to resistance cells worldwide, while also working on a virus that could potentially disrupt the aliens' ship-to-ship communications. If they could sow chaos in the invaders' ranks, it might give humanity the opening it needed. In orbit, the International Space Station had become a hub of frenetic activity. Captain Akira Tanaka and her crew worked tirelessly to coordinate Earth's remaining satellites, creating a makeshift early warning system for alien ship movements. But Akira's thoughts kept drifting to her sister Yuki, out there on the Jupiter research station. The brief communication had been cut off, leaving more questions than answers. What had Yuki discovered? Who were these alien rebels, and could they be trusted? As if in answer to her unspoken questions, a new transmission broke through the static. "Akira, can you hear me?" Yuki's voice came through, clearer this time. "We're on our way back to Earth, and we're not alone." Akira's heart leaped. "Yuki, what's going on? Who's with you?" "They call themselves the Knicks," Yuki explained. "They're a splinter group within the invading force. They believe this war is unjust and want to help us fight back. They have knowledge of the enemy's weaknesses, Akira. This could change everything." As the siblings reconnected, sharing vital information, a plan began to form. The Knicks rebels could provide crucial intelligence on the invaders' fleet movements and technology. Combined with Earth's emerging countermeasures, it might just be enough to turn the tide. On the ground, the first major counteroffensive was taking shape. Admiral Zhou's submarine fleet, augmented by vessels from navies around the world, executed a daring maneuver in the Pacific. Using themselves as bait, they lured a significant portion of the alien fleet over the deepest part of the ocean. As the alien ships moved into position, ready to unleash another devastating bombardment, the waters below them erupted. Experimental sonic weapons, fired from the submarines at impossible depths, sent shockwaves through the alien vessels. The effect was catastrophic. Alien ships fell from the sky, their crystalline structures shattering as they hit the water. The victory was far from decisive. The aliens still held air superiority over much of the globe. But it was a turning point. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity had struck back effectively. The news spread like wildfire through resistance networks. In hidden bunkers and makeshift camps, survivors cheered. The aliens were not invincible. They could be hurt, could be defeated. But the aliens were far from beaten. As news of the naval engagement reached the invaders' command, their tactics shifted. The bombardment intensified, focusing now on coastal areas and known military installations. It was a race against time. Could humanity capitalize on its momentum before the aliens adapted? In her underground lab, Dr. Elena Rodriguez felt the tremors of nearby impacts as she finalized her biological agent. The delivery mechanism was crude. They would need to disperse it directly into the aliens' environmental systems. But if it worked, it could be devastating. "We're ready," she announced to her team, holding up a vial of shimmering liquid. "Now we just need to get this onto their ships." As if in answer to her words, the lab's communication system crackled to life. It was General Chen. "Dr. Rodriguez, I'm patching you through to Captain Tanaka on the ISS. We may have a way to get your package where it needs to go." The plan that unfolded was daring to the point of insanity. The Knicks rebels, guided by Dr. Yuki Tanaka, would use their inside knowledge to infiltrate key ships in the alien fleet. They would create a distraction, allowing small teams of human operatives to board and release Elena's biological agent. It was a suicide mission, and everyone knew it. But volunteers stepped forward nonetheless. Soldiers, scientists, civilians, People from all walks of life, united in their determination to save their world. As the various elements of humanity's counterattack fell into place, a palpable sense of anticipation built. This was it, their best chance, perhaps their only chance, to turn the tide of this war. In the war room, General Chen looked at the faces of his fellow leaders from around the world. There was fear there, yes, but also a steely resolve. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said solemnly, "the operation begins at dawn. May God be with us all." As the day drew to a close, people across the world looked to the sky. The alien ships still loomed there, a constant reminder of the threat they faced. But now, for the first time since the invasion began, that sight didn't inspire only fear. Now, it inspired defiance. Humanity had been knocked down, but it was far from out. The fight for Earth was just beginning, and the invaders were about to learn a harsh lesson. Never underestimate the human spirit. As darkness fell, final preparations were made. In labs and hangars, on ships and in hidden bunkers, humanity readied itself for the battle to come. Tomorrow would determine the fate of their species, of their world. And they were ready. The Cosmic Alliance. The pre-dawn sky shimmered with an eerie, otherworldly light as the combined fleet of human and Nyx rebel ships rose from their hidden bases. Operation Starburst, humanity's desperate gambit to turn the tide of the war, was underway. Aboard the lead ship, a retrofitted space shuttle christened the Phoenix, Captain Akira Tanaka felt a surge of emotions as Earth fell away beneath them. Fear, determination, and a fierce pride in what humanity had accomplished in so short a time. Beside her stood Quetzalcoatl, the Nyx rebel leader. The alien's crystalline form sparkled in the dim light of the cockpit, a constant reminder of how strange and wonderful the universe could be. "Your people continue to amaze me, Captain," Quetzalcoatl said, its voice a musical chime. "In all my cycles, I've never seen a species adapt so quickly, fight so fiercely." Akira allowed herself a grim smile. "We're fighting for our home, Quetzalcoatl. There's no stronger motivation than that." As the fleet ascended, Ghost's voice crackled over the comms. The young hacker had insisted on joining the mission, his expertise deemed crucial for interfacing with alien systems. "Initiating Phase 1, he announced. "Deploying electronic countermeasures. Now." Across the alien armada, ship after ship suddenly found their communications scrambled, their navigation systems unreliable. It wasn't a total blackout. Ghost couldn't maintain that level of disruption for long, but it was enough to sow confusion and create openings. The joint human Nyx fleet struck hard and fast, targeting key command ships identified by the rebels. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, strapped into a jump seat in the Phoenix's cargo bay, clutched the case containing vials of her biological agent. Months of work, the hopes of an entire planet, all distilled into these fragile glass containers. As battles erupted across near-Earth space, a secondary operation was unfolding on the ground. General Chen, coordinating from his mobile command center, gave the order to initiate Operation Poseidon. Across the world's oceans, the combined submarine fleets of Earth's navies unleashed a barrage of experimental sonic weapons. The weapons' effects, devastating to the aliens' crystalline technology, rippled upwards through the atmosphere. Alien ships caught in the sonic net found their shields weakened, their hulls beginning to fracture. In low Earth orbit, the crew of the International Space Station watched in awe as the battle unfolded around them. They had become the eyes and ears of the resistance, coordinating movements and relaying vital intelligence. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, newly reunited with her sister Akira aboard the Phoenix, manned the communications array. Her time with the Nyx had given her unique insight into alien psychology and tactics. "Incoming transmission from the Archon's flagship," she announced, her voice tense. "They're demanding our surrender." Akira exchanged a glance with Quetzalcoatl. The Nyx rebel nodded solemnly. "Put it through," Akira ordered. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing the imposing form of the Archon, leader of the invading force. Its crystalline body pulsed with internal light, the visual representation of its barely contained rage. Humans, the Archon's voice boomed, translated through the Nyx technology. Your resistance is futile and illogical. Surrender now, and we may yet show mercy. Akira stood tall, her voice steady as she responded. We will not surrender our home, Archon. We offer you one chance. Leave our system now, or face the consequences. The Archon's form shimmered with what might have been laughter. You dare threaten us? Your species is young, primitive. You cannot hope to. The transmission cut off abruptly as Ghost's virus wormed its way deeper into the alien systems. Sorry about that, the hacker quipped. Thought we'd heard enough. With the element of surprise on their side, the human Nyx fleet pressed their advantage. Specially designed fighters, piloted by Earth's best and brightest, darted between the larger alien ships. They deploy Elena's biological agent through breaches in the aliens' hulls, created by a combination of conventional weapons and the Nyx rebels' inside knowledge. The effect was almost immediate. Alien crew members began to succumb to the engineered pathogen, their crystalline forms clouding and cracking from within. Ships began to drift, their command structures in chaos, but the invaders were far from defeated. Those ships unaffected by the initial strike began to rally, unleashing devastating energy weapons that lit up the sky with deadly beauty. On the ground, the situation remained dire. While the space battle raged, alien ground forces continued their assault on Earth's cities and military installations. In the ruins of what was once London, a ragtag group of survivors, led by Major Sarah Hawkins, fought a desperate guerrilla war against alien patrols. Command, this is Foxtrot Alpha. Sarah's voice crackled over the emergency frequencies. We're pinned down in Trafalgar Square. Any word on air support? General Chen's response was grim but determined. Hold your position, Foxtrot Alpha. The tide is turning up here. Just a little longer. As the battle reached its fever pitch, a new player entered the fray. From the depths of the solar system, a massive ship appeared, its design unlike anything seen before. Dr. Yuki Tanaka's eyes widened in recognition. It's the Synthians, she breathed. The third faction I told you about. They're here. The Synthians, a race of sentient eyes, had long observed the conflict from afar. Now it seemed they had chosen to intervene. Their ship, a marvel of technology beyond even the invaders' understanding, positioned itself between Earth and the alien armada. A pulse of energy emanated from the vessel, washing over friend and foe alike. In an instant, the rules of engagement changed. Weapons on both sides powered down, shields flickered and died. The Synthians had deployed a field that neutralized all advanced energy systems. A new transmission overtook all frequencies. This conflict ends now, a chorus of synthesized voices declared. We offer a choice, coexistence or isolation. Decide. The battlefield fell silent as the implications of the Synthians' ultimatum sank in. Humanity, the invading aliens, and the Nyx rebels all found themselves at a crossroads. The next few moments would determine the future not just of Earth, but of galactic civilization itself. Akira Tanaka, her heart pounding, realized the weight of responsibility that had fallen on her shoulders. As the ranking human officer in space, her next words could shape the destiny of her entire species. She took a deep breath, exchanged a look with her sister Yuki and their Nyx ally Caxetl, then opened a channel to the Synthian ship. We choose coexistence, Akira declared, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. Humanity has always dreamed of reaching the stars, of being part of something greater than ourselves. We won't let fear or past conflict stop us from embracing that dream. Caxetl stepped forward, its crystalline form resonating with approval. The Nyx faction also chooses coexistence. We have seen the error of our ways and wish to make amends. All eyes turned to the Archon's flagship, waiting for the invaders' response. Tense moments passed before a reply came. We miscalculated. The Archon's voice sounded strained, humbled. The humans have proven themselves worthy adversaries and potential allies. We too choose coexistence. A wave of relief washed over the assembled fleets. The war that had brought Earth to the brink of extinction was over. But the real work, the challenge of building a lasting peace between such different species, was just beginning. As the Cynthians began outlining their plans for a galactic council that would ensure peaceful coexistence, Akira turned to her crew. "Send word to Earth," she ordered, a smile finally breaking through her battle-hardened exterior. Tell them we're not alone anymore, and we're going to be okay." The news spread across the battered planet like wildfire. From hidden bunkers and ruined cities, humans emerged, looking to the sky not with fear, but with wonder and hope. The Cosmic Alliance, born in the crucible of war, would face many challenges in the days to come, but humanity had proven its worth among the stars. They had faced extinction and emerged stronger, ready to take their place in a much larger, more wondrous universe than they had ever imagined. As the sun set on this new era of galactic cooperation, Dr. Elena Rodriguez looked up from her microscope, a tear sliding down her cheek. "We did it," she whispered. "We really did it." The dawn of a new age had arrived, and humanity was ready to embrace it with open arms. Operation Starfall. The galactic peace brokered by the Cynthians was fragile, a delicate balance that required constant nurturing. For 2 years, representatives from Earth, the Nyx rebels, and the former invaders, now known as the Crystalline Concordat, worked tirelessly to build trust and understanding. But beneath the surface of diplomatic niceties, tension simmered. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, now Earth's lead xenobiologist, pored over data in her lab aboard the International Space Station. The station had been expanded and upgraded with alien tech, becoming a symbol of interspecies cooperation. But Yuki's latest findings threatened to shatter that illusion. "Captain," she called, her voice tight with worry. "You need to see this." Her sister, Captain Akira Tanaka, floated into the lab, her movements graceful in the Zerog environment. "What is it, Yuki?" Yuki pointed to a holographic display showing complex molecular structures. "I've been analyzing samples from various crystalline worlds. There's evidence of deliberate ecological manipulation. They're terraforming, Akira. And the changes, they're making these worlds more like their home planet." Akira's eyes widened as the implications sank in. "You think they're preparing for another invasion?" Yuki nodded grimly. "It looks that way. The peace treaty may have just been a way to buy time, to lull us into a false sense of security." As the Tanaka sisters grappled with this disturbing revelation, similar concerns were being raised across the newfound galactic community. Quetzalcoatl, the Nyx rebel leader, now serving as an ambassador to Earth, received troubling reports from sympathizers still embedded within the crystalline Concordat. In a secure meeting room deep beneath Geneva, Quetzalcoatl briefed General Chen and a select group of human and Nyx leaders. "Our worst fears are confirmed." The alien's musical voice was somber. "The Archon's faction is rearming in secret. They plan to strike not just Earth, but all worlds that oppose their vision of a crystalline-dominated galaxy." General Chen, his face more lined than ever, leaned forward. "How long do we have?" "Months, at most," Quetzalcoatl replied. "They underestimated humanity once. They won't make that mistake again." The room erupted in a flurry of discussion, plans and counterplans flying back and forth. It was Ghost, the young hacker who had proven instrumental in the First War, who finally cut through the noise. "We can't just play defense this time," he said, his holographic avatar flickering above the conference table. "We need to take the fight to them, hit them where they least expect it." A hush fell over the room as Ghost outlined his audacious plan. Operation Starfall, he called it, a daring strike at the heart of the crystalline Concordat's power, their homeworld itself. The plan was multifaceted and incredibly risky. It would require every ounce of human ingenuity, Nyx insider knowledge, and Synthian technology they could muster. But if it worked, it could end the threat once and for all. As preparations for Operation Starfall kicked into high gear, Earth became a hive of activity. In laboratories and factories around the globe, humans and their alien allies worked feverishly to develop new technologies and weapons. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, building on her earlier breakthrough, perfected a new strain of her biological agent. This version was even more potent, capable of spreading rapidly through the crystalline ecosystem. It won't kill them, she explained to the War Council, but it will weaken their entire biosphere, making it harder for them to support a large-scale military operation. Meanwhile, Ghost and a team of human and Nex hackers worked to create the most sophisticated cyber weapon ever conceived. Dubbed the Pandora virus, it was designed to infiltrate and subvert the crystalline's complex crystalline-based computer networks. In orbital shipyards, a new class of stealth vessels took shape. These ships, incorporating the best of human, Nex, and Synthian technology, were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. They were humanity's spear, the tip of the coming assault. As the day of reckoning approached, Captain Akira Tanaka found herself in command of the flagship of this new fleet, christened the HSS Defiant. Standing on the bridge, looking out at the assembled armada, she felt the weight of history on her shoulders. "All ships, report in," she ordered, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. One by one, the captains of Earth's fleet sounded off. Among them were voices from a dozen nations, along with their Nex allies. Humanity had come together like never before, united in the face of extinction. As the fleet prepared to depart, a final transmission came through from Earth. It was a joint address from the leaders of the world's nations. Their message was simple but powerful. Go forth with the hopes and dreams of humanity. Show the galaxy what it means to be human. With a flash of light, the fleet disappeared into the quantum slipstream, embarking on a journey that would determine the fate of not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. The journey to the crystalline homeworld was tense, filled with near misses and heart-stopping moments as the fleet navigated through enemy territory. But finally, they arrived at their destination. The crystalline homeworld was a sight to behold, a planet that seemed to be one giant, multifaceted gemstone. But there was no time to admire the view. As soon as they dropped out of slipstream, alarms blared across the fleet. Multiple contacts. The sensor officer on the Defiant shouted, "They were waiting for us." Akira's mind raced. How had they been detected? Had there been a leak? But there was no time for questions now. "All ships, battle stations," she ordered. "Initiate Operation Starfall." The space around the crystalline homeworld erupted into chaos. Energy beams lanced back and forth, missiles and counter-missiles creating a deadly light show against the backdrop of space. But even as the battle raged in space, the true fight was happening on a much smaller scale. Elena's biological agent was released into the planet's atmosphere, carried by specially designed missiles that evaded the crystalline defenses. Simultaneously, Ghost and his team launched their cyber assault. The Pandora virus wormed its way into the crystalline networks, causing cascading failures in their defense systems. On the surface of the planet, specially trained teams of humans and Nex rebels deployed from stealth dropships. Their mission was to locate and capture the Archon, the leader of the crystalline Concordat. As the battle reached its crescendo, it seemed that Operation Starfall might just succeed. The crystalline forces were in disarray, caught off guard by the multi-pronged assault. But the Archon had one last card to play. From the heart of the crystalline world, a massive energy signature began to build. "All ships, pull back," Akira ordered, recognizing the danger. "They're going to." Her words were cut off as a blinding flash lit up the space around the planet. When it faded, the Defiant and a handful of other ships found themselves elsewhere. The quantum slipstream drive had been activated on a planetary scale, transporting a significant chunk of the crystalline homeworld, and the ships caught in its field to an unknown location in space. As alarms blared and damage reports flooded in, Akira realized that the true battle was just beginning. They were lost, cut off from reinforcements, in the heart of enemy territory. Operation Starfall had succeeded in its primary objective. The crystalline war machine was crippled. But for Akira and her crew, a new and even more dangerous chapter was about to unfold. A new dawn for humanity. The HSS Defiant drifted in an unfamiliar star system, battle-scarred, and running on emergency power. Captain Akira Tanaka surveyed the bridge, taking in the determination on the faces of her crew despite their dire circumstances. "Status report," she ordered, her voice a calm center in the storm of activity. "Hull breaches on decks 3 through 7, sealed," her XO reported. "Life support stable, but we're down to 60% power. The slipstream drive is, well, fried would be putting it mildly." Akira nodded, processing the information. They were alive, but stranded in unknown space with a chunk of the crystalline homeworld, and who knew how many enemy ships. "What about the rest of the fleet?" she asked. The communications officer shook his head. "We've got contact with the Audacity and the Nyx ship Starshard. No word from the others yet." As if on cue, a transmission came through. It was Admiral Yuki Tanaka, Akira's sister, aboard the Audacity. "Akira, do you read? What's your status?" The sisters quickly exchanged information, piecing together their situation. Of the ships that had been caught in the planetary slipstream event, only a handful had survived intact. They were deep in uncharted space, with limited resources and surrounded by a still dangerous enemy. But as dire as their situation seemed, a spark of hope emerged. The crystalline homeworld, or at least the chunk of it that had been transported with them, was in chaos. Elena's biological agent had worked better than they could have hoped, weakening the crystallines significantly, and Ghost's Pandora virus had thoroughly compromised their technology. "We have an opportunity here," Yuki said, her scientific mind already racing with possibilities. "With their defenses down, we could learn more about crystalline technology and biology than we ever dreamed possible." Akira saw the potential immediately. "Not just that," she added. "If we play this right, we could force a real lasting peace. Not just a ceasefire, but a true end to the conflict." Over the next few days, a daring plan took shape. While engineering teams worked around the clock to repair their ships, small strike forces were sent to the crystalline world fragment. Their mission was part reconnaissance, part diplomacy, and part scientific expedition. Dr. Elena Rodriguez led one such team. Clad in environmental suits, they picked their way through crystalline structures that seemed to blur the line between technology and biology. "It's incredible," Elena breathed, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. "Their entire civilization is like one giant, living computer." As Elena and her team collected samples and data, another group led by Ghost focused on the crystalline data networks. With their defenses weakened by the Pandora virus, Ghost was able to dive deeper into their systems than ever before. What he found shook him to his core. "Captain," he reported back to Akira, his voice trembling slightly. "You're not going to believe this. The crystallines, they're not the original inhabitants of their world. They're a created species, engineered by something far older and more powerful." This revelation sent shockwaves through the human and Nyx forces. The crystallines, it seemed, were as much victims as they were aggressors. Created as a warrior race by some ancient, long-vanished civilization, they had been locked into patterns of conquest and expansion by their very nature. Armed with this knowledge, Akira made a bold decision. She requested a parley with the Archon, the crystalline leader. The meeting took place in a neutral zone between the human ships and the crystalline world fragment. Akira, flanked by Yuki and Caxetl, faced the Archon across a hastily constructed conference table. "You have us at a disadvantage, human." The Archon's translated voice held a mixture of anger and grudging respect. "State your terms." Akira took a deep breath. This was the moment that would determine the future of multiple species. "We don't want your surrender," she said, her voice clear and strong. "We want your help." She laid out what they had discovered about the crystalline's origins and proposed a radical idea, working together to break the genetic programming that drove them to conflict. The Archean was silent for a long moment, its crystalline form shimmering with internal light as it processed this information. Finally, it spoke. "You would help us become free." Akira nodded. "In exchange for a lasting peace, yes. Our scientists, working with yours, can find a way to give your people true free will. And together, we can explore this unknown region of space, not as enemies, but as allies." The negotiations that followed were long and complex, but in the end, a historic agreement was reached. The crystallines would cease all hostilities, not just against Earth, but against all species. In return, humanity and their allies would help the crystallines chart a new destiny. As news of the agreement spread, the mood among the stranded fleet transformed from one of grim determination to cautious hope. They were still lost, far from home, but they were no longer alone. In the months that followed, an incredible transformation took place. The world fragment became a hub of cooperative research and development. Crystalline scientists, freed from their biological imperative for conquest, proved to be invaluable allies in understanding the strange new sector of space they found themselves in. Dr. Elena Rodriguez made breakthrough after breakthrough, her work on crystalline biology opening up new frontiers in medical science and biotechnology. Ghost and his team, working alongside their former enemies, developed new forms of quantum computing that pushed the boundaries of what was thought possible. And Captain Akira Tanaka, the woman who had led humanity through its darkest hour, found herself at the helm of a new kind of mission. The combined fleet, now expanded with crystalline ships, began to explore their surroundings, charting new worlds and making first contact with species never before encountered. They discovered wonders beyond imagination: vast rings of inhabitable space around pulsars, living gas giants with silicon-based ecosystems, and ruins of civilizations that made even the crystallines seem young. But always, there was the pull of home. Earth was out there somewhere, and Akira was determined to find a way back. The work continued, pushing the boundaries of slipstream technology, searching for a way to bridge the vast gulf of space. 5 years after the fateful battle that had stranded them, a breakthrough finally came. The joint team of human, Nix, and crystalline scientists developed a new form of quantum entanglement communication. For the first time since their arrival in this unknown sector, they made contact with Earth. The message they received brought tears to many eyes. "We never gave up hope. Come home, explorers. Your families are waiting." As preparations began for the long journey home, Akira stood on the observation deck of the Defiant, looking out at the glittering expanse of unknown space. Besides her stood Yuki, Elena, Ghost, Caxetl, and even the Archean, a group that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. "We set out to save Earth," Akira mused, "and we ended up changing the galaxy." The Archean's crystalline form shimmered in what Akira had come to recognize as amusement. "Perhaps that is the true nature of humanity," it said. "Not just to survive, but to transform, to take the impossible and make it real." As the fleet prepared for its historic return journey, carrying with it knowledge and alliances that would reshape galactic civilization, Akira couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged not just victorious, but enlightened. The stars stretched out before them, no longer a battlefield, but a frontier of infinite possibility. And humanity, tested by fire and tempered by adversity, was ready to take its place among them. This was not an end, Akira realized, but a beginning. A new dawn for humanity, and for all the species they now called allies. Whatever challenges the universe had in store, they would face them together. As the order was given to initiate the slipstream drive for the long journey home, Akira allowed herself a smile. The future, vast and unknown, beckoned, and humanity, as always, was ready to answer its call.